I'm gonna log out and you should be good now.
Okay, it's the Board of Public Works meeting of February 7th, 2022. It's 6:12. We're starting a little late because there was technical difficulties with Paul Tomkovitz's connection on the solid waste contract. Tonight's agenda, we have action items, three action items. Number one, drain layer license renewal for 2022. The solid waste contract, design and preparation of emergency water main connections. We'll have three items for board discussion. Storm drain corner at Priscilla and Circuit Ave South. Number two is STM articles funding the purchase of sandbags for residents. Number three, town meeting articles. We have an item to vote to accept the minutes of 1/10/22. We have the superintendent's report, update on 965 Plain Street, the past couple storms. Update, we're going to go in executive session to discuss the contracts, and our next meeting is on February 28th, 2022. Do I have a second for the agenda? Second?
Yeah, wait, before we vote, I want to make a report here on the superintendent's report. I went to the selectmen's agendas and their minutes, and under the town administrator's report, it goes on for 2 pages in the minutes. So I'd like Tom to be able to find 1 and 2, storm updates, and anything else you have to speak about, because at the selectmen's meeting, it goes on for 2 pages.
He goes through all his correspondence.
Yeah, well, anything else that you'd like to add, we would be doing the same thing as the selectmen are doing.
Sure.
So is it, you guys all right with that?
So number three is correspondence.
Not, you know, they don't put anything down, they just put down the town
It's just the town
administrator.
administrator's report without any
His
detail.
okay.
the
Oh,
town
okay,
administrator report is usually his correspondence
Right.
for the
Meetings he had.
Yeah, but he goes on in general what's going on, so
Sure.
I'd just like to give you a little bit more freedom to speak out.
I'd be more than happy to,
That's
thank
what I'm
you.
trying to do,
Sure,
Okay.
John, no, thank you.
just like the selectmen are doing.
So we add number three, anything else?
Yeah, I think other items.
Other items?
Other items.
Sure, I mean, I can list, a number of things that,
Other items would do it.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
you know,
That
subsequent,
just gives you the
Sure.
same as town administrator.
yeah, there have been a couple of things that have floated up that, I was going to question when you got there. These would be examples of, there was an article in the Mariner, I think a week ago, Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, this Wednesday, where they talked about the fairgrounds are putting in photovoltaics.
Right.
And that's a zone 2 for us.
Right.
We had a bylaw passed, after catching a glimpse of the article, I didn't have a chance to read it. I hope you still have it, because I want to pop down and maybe get a look at it tomorrow. But, I would like town administrator's opinion as to whether or not we can say, hey, you have to avoid using any PFAS, or have mitigating circumstances if you can. Because like the splice compounds, and the sleeves that go on them when they are making electric connectors, they contain PFAS.
Okay.
The other would be, I know you had to, the rescheduling of the advisory board meeting with their representatives, because I know you had to change that out.
Yeah,
That type of, those are a couple of examples that
Sure.
are good for tonight.
sure, let you know what I...
That's my look, see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Second?
Second.
With the amended items?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. First item on the agenda is the drain layer license renewal for 2020, which we have 10 drain layer license renewals from Biagini Incorporated, Alltown, Cornell, Clancy, Cobra, Sealand, Weed and Feed, McDougal, Irara Brothers and Silverado Construction. Do I have a second? I make a motion to accept the report from Jay Parker, renewing those licenses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second item, solid waste contract.
Can we, the solid waste contract is gonna be an executive session.
Okay, so we'll pass over that, we'll wait, we'll come back to that after the end. Design and preparation of emergency water main connections.
Okay. Let's look at it. I have my, just give me a second, I get my papers mixed up here. Okay, this is going to be a special town meeting warrant article. We had our cross-country water main under the South River go on us, where there's a leak in one of the joints, so we had to shut it down. We are in the process of putting together a warrant article to run a water main over the Willow Street Bridge and connect to South River from Ocean Street. And that will connect a 10-inch onto the South River across the bridge at Willow, so that we have that connection, that ability to have 2 feeds. Right now, we only have one coming from South River, and to have this is important while the cross marsh line is down.
Yeah, it would be the first number that you see.
Okay.
Any comments from the board?
No.
And Rod can add a little bit more to it. We're talking about the water main emergency on Willow.
Okay, yeah, so, right now, I'm gonna open
There's actually 2 locations we could go. We're proposing 2 crossings. One at Willow and then one at CVS through the bridle path, that way then down the bridle path. So I'll let Rod give you a little bit more information.
Okay, I outlined several steps that we probably should be taking. I didn't get a chance to email it to you, I just finished it up right now.
Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, sir.
You get you.
Yes, I do have it. Do you want?
I'm waiting.
Okay, I'll just jump in and, everybody knows what the problem was, we lost the South River.
Right, I explained
We
that.
lost the South River.
I was just finishing discussing that issue in Willow Street, and that's when you came in at that.
Okay, so what we have in terms of connection to the low zone is the 3A bridge, the water main crossing the 3A bridge right now. That's the only connection that we have. We don't have the connection from the high zone down as well, because Cross Street is in a similar situation where several years ago, the water main broke under the river, and we haven't gone back to there to tie it together. Our recent work on Plain Street now gives us the ability to make that connection and to keep that whole area in the low zone. But we have the ability with the valves we put in there to bleed down from the high zone in case we need water to augment what's coming coming from the low zone pumps. Sometimes you run into a situation where you need water in the low zone. So with the high zone, at higher pressure, you can bleed that way. So we need to get that crossing done, and so that's something that we're looking at as well. I met with a gas company last week They're proposing to replace the gas main in Old Plain Street. And there's a culvert that has to cross. There's a little duck pond right there, right above Old Plain, and there's a structure that lets the water pass to the South River. And it's about, it's over 5 feet deep, and you've got to dig underneath there and get across. Our water main happens to be on the side of it right now. So we're proposing to maybe piggyback with the gas company, if there's a way we can procure it, to directional drill underneath. They're planning on trying to get in there by March. We met with the driller, and I think we're talking about under 50,000 to do that. And it may be worth it to.
How big a line?
This would be an 8-inch line. Most likely it would be high-density polyethylene in a steel sleeve, and they'll core a hole like 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and then pull the steel sleeve in, and then they'll have some sort of a cribbing, that wraps the HDPE pipe so that it doesn't.
They call them isolators.
Isolators, yeah, right. Anyways, so that's a possibility. Old Plain Street is cast iron, it needs to be replaced. Right now, the streets like, Parsons Street, I'm sorry, not Parsons Street, Parsons Walk. And some of Plain Street up there is being fed by the low zone at this time through that cast iron main. So that has got to be on our radar screen. That allows, right now, we can't depend on that main to bleed through. And if we did bleed through, it would be on the other side of the river. So if we go down to Cross Street, that takes us on the south side of Plain Street and Ocean Street, and that is the priority right now, because we want to get on that side. But ultimately, that cast iron in Old Plain needs to be replaced as well. So I've listed. So Willow Street's high priority. We think we can get that done with in-house and subcontracting through our current contract with Mass Pavement to jump on that right away. And we believe we have money in Spring Street to do it. We collected water main money in Spring Street.
Okay, so this would be a case of voting to transfer the balance at Spring Street to cover the cost of Willow.
Yeah, if at one time Patrick, when Patrick was in charge, said we didn't have to go to town meeting to do it, but we have to check with the accountant and the new collector to see if they're comfortable with that. If not, then we've got to probably put
It's
that
under
on.
water main work, so that he thought that it would be easy enough to transfer it to another project.
We've got new accountants and new collector.
So we'll have to run that by
But
them.
we also have to get it through the advisory board of the capital budget committee in that situation as well.
I believe probably we would do that as a formality anyway.
It should be, but not always.
Right.
So there's 300,000 available there, and this is going to run about 300,000. I got a 5% contingency built into that, which isn't much, but I think it's pretty straightforward down Willow Street. The only thing is crossing the bridge, and I might have to get a hold of our bridge engineers and talk to them about what we need to do there. It's only about 20 feet you got to span, but we have a bridge that's in deteriorated condition.
So it's got above ground.
It would be more of above ground temporary, like I say, because we're in the process of trying to get that design completed and that bridge replaced. Anyway, so Willow Street is the connection that will reinforce the only connection that we have from our pump stations to feed the low zone. And other than that, we have Webster Street 1 and 2 that feed that whole low zone right now if we lose that connection at Main Street.
So, and I mean, this basically is, both to both of you guys, I see this as a public safety issue.
Yeah.
The fire protection.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
So on the number one priority is South River Street to Ocean Street via Willow Street with an over the bridge connection.
Right.
All right, and we have existing money available that we need to transfer
300,000.
from one project to another.
Right.
So we can't wait to town meeting for that. Is that what
Well-
you're saying to me?
Well, no, I mean, I think this is an emergency, and if we could start it now, we would prefer to do it now
Yeah.
than wait until April. I'd rather address it immediately, because it leaves us very vulnerable not having that cross.
Okay,
I would concur with that, and I would think at the very least, certainly, we can begin the engineering without anybody's permission.
Right, and I'm meeting Wednesday with my advisory board reps, so at that point, I could ask at the next meeting if we could be on the agenda to ask him to transfer that, to be able to, and in the meantime, Dan and I were gonna meet with the new treasurer collector. That might be a starting point there, we could ask that question.
Very good.
okay,
Mike,
John?
what about accessing the 100,000 emergency line?
And we could also ask that if needed.
And maybe pre-order the pipe.
Yeah.
We do have, I think we have enough pipe for Willow Street.
What is it,
That's
ductile
12
iron?
inch.
Paul said we had 12-inch down on Boston
Yeah,
Street.
Is that ductil
I
line?
think we have
Yeah,
less
that's the
than 500 feet.
Less than, all right, then we will have to order.
We'll have to order some anyways.
Yeah.
We'll use what we
Yeah.
can. So then, so the next, but, you know, Old Plain is a priority. It should be done because it's cast iron and it's very tuberculated. I think you've got openings like, you know, something like this in the pipe after they cut into it when we did the work on Plain Street.
And that is the one you're planning to piggyback with the gas company?
Right, we're just thinking about getting that underneath the culvert and then at some point fund
Finishing. Yeah.
the Old Plain.
But I guess my question to you is that you view that portion of it, both of you and Tom, that you view that portion of it as this is an opportune time and a chance to do it at a lower cost than we would have to do it at a later date.
Right,
Correct.
we thought by bundling all of these projects under one bond,
Yeah.
that we'd get a better bang for our buck, and, you know, maybe get one or two different contractors to bid on it,
Right.
and just have them move from one to the next.
Okay, so the plan is to roll them all together.
Right,
Okay.
because they're all in the same general vicinity, and
Yep.
they've been on the master plan
Forever.
for some time.
The next main that is going to reinforce our connection, and it offers an additional feed to the low zone, would be extending the main from South River Street in the area of the bridle path. It's right where the power station is, right there at South River, at the little bend. And you run down the bridle path, and then you go under the South River and down within the easement that exists next to the CVS. And then try to make a connection. It's tight in there, there's utilities and everything else, but I think we can probably figure a way of doing it. With that,
Okay. And that's going to add some redundancy to our capacity to route water whichever way we have to if something happens in between
Right.
places. Okay, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's essential to tie the high and low zones together in the case of emergency and need.
yeah, indirectly, and what it does is it gives us that feed beyond the Webster Street connection.
Correct, yeah.
So we can, if there's some, the 16-inch main goes between Webster Street and, say, Pudding Hill Tank, that for some reason we have to shut that off. We'll have this feed beyond that intersection.
Right.
And then we can feed from the Telegraph Hill Tank and feed from that direction.
I mean, basically what we're saying is we're trying to build in as much redundancy to our water system as we can, and that's always a good thing.
And looping also, and looping the bigger
Yeah.
mains too.
And
Also
thi-
good.
and but those two connections, basically, Willow and this connection, that really replaces the function of the main we just lost across the river. This is kind of built into our plans, because we installed a 16-inch main in Ocean Street back in the 90s, with the intention that this is going to happen, and eventually we're going to lose that South River. We didn't think we were going to really explore trying to line that or replace it, because it would be mega bucks.
So how big was the main that went across the river?
14-inch,
14 inch? And what was it installed?
1957.
Okay.
It was AC pipe, right?
It's AC pipe, and it's cast iron that goes underneath the river.
Okay.
It's got some special universal joints, and they just laid it down. It's all built on piles.
Yeah.
So there's every 9 feet, there was a pile driven underneath the center of it with a
And
concrete.
it doesn't make any sense to replace that?
At this point,
Cheaper
It was-
option is to do the bridge crossings.
we don't know where it failed. And where we thought it failed, after the police department used their drone, it was right next to the river. There's this indication, but we saw the same, it was almost perfectly round, in line where it would have crossed based on the plans that we had. And it almost looked like that had to be it, because it was like a perfect round indication in the marsh. And it was discolored, slightly discolored. It just looked like that was it. But we haven't seen the rest of the shots that they took. I just happened to take a screenshot of it. But if you go back to the historical photos that we have, it's there. It's there in prior photos, so either it was another leak. But back in the early 90s, we shut the system down. We isolated that main, and we looked at how quickly the Pudding Hill, we were here at past midnight, and we looked how quickly that tank went down when we shut everything off. All our pumps are off, and we isolated the best we could the river crossing. And we had very little water loss. So in the 90s, we didn't have a problem. We definitely knew we had a problem, because, the other night we just couldn't fill the tanks. So once they shut those valves down, we knew that was it.
Okay, then the crossing at Main Street, the next project, replace 1,100 linear feet, 8-inch AC.
In Cross Street, that's
Street to
AC pipe right now. I believe it's 8-inch, and it should be replaced. That would be our connection from the high zone down. We have the river crossing to do, but eventually we should go and replace that AC main. I'm going to do a couple of borings over there, because there's ledge in the area. Right now, near the river crossing, but I at least want to get the river crossing and it tied in. But if we can go and get the money to replace that AC main, that would be something we would recommend. The other thing that we might want to, that we're really considering doing, we're trying to find whatever available funds we have, and that is to install some insertion valves next to the valves that are currently holding back the valves that we shut. And we got them shut almost tight, but not quite tight. And we don't want to touch them right now, because anything could happen with those valves. Those bonnets may pop, anything could happen. So we want to get insertion valves in there, and they're pretty expensive. I think they're like 30, 40,000 a piece to get them in there because they're 14-inch. If they were 12, we probably could have gotten, it would be half that cost, but the 14 is just ridiculously expensive. And we gotta get somebody to dig them, and we should cap the main as well. And then also we gotta run a service line right now. Our Homestead sewer pump station is out of water right now because that happened to be downstream or within the area that we shut off. But we talked to Clint, and they're okay with that. They don't necessarily need it right now, the way they operate. But it's something we've got to make a connection to. So that would all be part of that, extending the line down, a 2-inch line down there, and tying that in and capping the main off. And it's AC pipe, so it's a good idea. So with that said, we're coming up with about 2.350. These are the best I could do in a hurry. We'll start to get a feeling on how much these water, all the prices has gone up. I don't know if you noticed that the pricing of material is skyrocketing. Thursday, we open our bids for Surf Ave, and we'll get an idea.
You can't even order 8-inch pipe, it's so long, you know? You can get 6, you can get 10, you can't get 8.
We purchased all the pipe in advance for that job.
Can we get reducers?
Yeah.
To go with
So,
any of that?
Tom, what do we have balance in the retained earnings and water?
1.6, I think it was.
About 2.3 million.
Oh, 2.3.
Yeah, we just got them Friday.
Oh, you got one year to.
You don't have them with
Oh, you don't have.
These are the official certified?
Yes.
So my next question is, on the timing of this, what is the timing of, I count 5 projects. The first one would be in Willow Street, which is immediate, South River and Cross Street, and water main at Main and Old Plains would be the second one. The Bridle Path would be the third one. The fourth one would be Cross Street at Plain Street. Well, Plain Street to Old Ocean Street. And then the last one would be Holmes, just a small project, Home Street to Homestead to Fantastic. So basically, what is the timeline on the other ones?
Not really sure.
I mean, are we talking 1 fiscal year or 2 fiscal years?
I mean, I think, I don't know, we could probably get this work done by next spring or something like that, if we had the money and we were able to expedite it.
So the intent would be to all these projects to try and knock them off in a 12-month period normally.
Yeah, if we could. I mean, it's gonna be tight, we've gotta move. We gotta get I think we gotta make use of the 100,000
Yeah.
for some design money or some.
But I mean, the intent would be that we would try to be accomplished in, say, a 12 to 18-month period.
Something like that,
Yes. You know, and again, is there going to be other opera money available to us down the road? We're hearing they might be. So these are things that, you know, going forward, we could see what available funding's there for us so that we wouldn't have to go.
Tap into the whole thing.
So this money could be available in the spring if.
Well,
Well, we're going for, if we're gonna go for the bond, I would say that it's gotta be in the special, because it's too late to go in the annual. So I'm gonna say we need this money April 1st, as soon as it's available.
And borrow the whole amount.
Are we going to go to the SRF fund? DEP's SRF fund?
Right, there's
Right.
money's available there also.
Right. Right, because I hear that they're getting a bigger chunk.
Yeah, there is money from opera that's going into the water vacant trust.
So this would be all eligible for SRF, who's zero,
I would think so.
close to zero.
my suggestion says state revolving fund, so you don't get back on it for the budgets.
It's a state revolving fund, which is a loan program, but it's a low-interest loan program,
Right.
in which the federal government, when Congress made the stimulus bill, it put a big chunk into the states for the state revolving fund.
For water and wastewater.
For water, some of it is a grant.
Right.
It's not all loans.
Right, I have a meeting tomorrow afternoon about, with a consultant and with planning in regards to some funding opportunities, and this can be discussed. The SRS funding, I can ask the consultant to dig a little deeper into that.
Queuing off of what Bob just finished saying, and one of the things would be, there's an environmental positive to this if we are not using the crossing underneath the South River, because we're avoiding that. The lines that stay overhead don't involve any disturbance to the estuary or the river itself, which is always one of those things that we run into issues with from an environmental standpoint and extra cost because of that. So, that certainly should be something that gives us a cue into the state revolving fund for such purposes, I would think.
That case is valid for Willow Street, but maybe we might want to go in directional drill under South River at towards the CVS, the right path there.
I agree with that.
Could you do
Because I'm not
this?
sure the condition of the,
Well, but not only that, but that's a much shorter crossing
Hey,
too.
let me get a word in here, will you?
Sure.
Okay. Rod, could you, and for 14, the insert valves, could we use the emergency monies in water, understanding we're gonna vote that and have that back July 1st of 2022? That's an option. We could use the emergency money.
For right now,
For right now,
until
then we're gonna get
the special, and then reimburse the account.
we've got about 67,000, I think, in water main upgrades available, but that might, that's what I see in the account right now. So they might be able to take some of that,
Right,
some of the 100,000, and we figure out.
Well,
how to
that's an
do that.
option. We also, up on Spring Street, and I don't know if you guys were here at the time, we're gonna use some of that money to pave, and it was almost done to pave Spring Street.
We were going to, but
I
you
know.
put a stop to that.
Thank you. So that 300,000,
So came in better use.
wait a
Yes,
minute.
that's
There
it.
you go.
So John, how much money is that on Spring Street?
300,000.
That's what's left.
That's the 300,000.
We were gonna use it to pave the road, but, I questioned it.
So this is the 300,000 we're gonna
So
move?
we have that, and
Okay.
then the 100 in the emergency line if we need that.
Not bad. I don't say much.
No? Good job.
Okay,
Get it out of the way for that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the timing of all this. I just haven't had time to really talk to anybody about this.
Thanks, Rod.
Very good, right. So you're looking for, I guess, approval to proceed on this?
I don't know what do you want.
Yeah, what,
so I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from the town engineer on these emergency projects and do what you have to do to move them forward before town meeting with the different boards and treasurer and town administrator to prevent a further emergency situation.
sure.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
Good job, Rod.
Okay.
And Tom.
We need to have a board discussion for a continuing storm drain problem at Priscilla and Circuit Ave itself.
That's a good one.
It's been an ongoing problem for a long time.
Yeah, Ron has brought it to our attention on 2 different occasions. And I know Rod has gone out there and looked at it, and we're in the process now of, as Rod said, we're opening the bids on Surf Avenue, which is drainage and water.
Right.
So at some point, that connection up there, that's the next phase, is jumping up to Circuit and doing the water main up there. And at that point, I think we would permanently address the issue up there. But in the meantime,
We're thinking of doing away with the water main that runs down the driveway, which is Circuit Ave South.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a road.
We could get a line from that leaching basin. It's like a tank that they have there because there's just no leaching. But there's a tank, and once that fills up, it overflows. But if we could get a line down, we could use that water line or snake down a smaller line. We could drain that, meter that out, and maybe get it into our drain that we put in on Surf Ave. That's a distinct possibility there.
It's really dangerous because it shows black ice as you go. It melts during the day and then at night. It's still a puddle. As you drive through it,
Right.
and then the water
Right,
coming
we've
off
got
the
to keep
cars.
that pumped out is what we have to do.
Yeah, that would do. Would it go down Circuit Ave South?
It would,
That's a road, by the way.
the water main goes down Circuit Ave South, so if when we do Circuit Ave East water main replacement,
You
which
just
is
tear it up.
it's a cast iron line right there, and that was one of the priority jobs before the river crossing went. We were gonna try to push to get that done, because that's cast iron, and that also connects into Standish, and provides a good connection to backfeed Standish and ultimately Winslow. So that's a weak link over there, so we were gonna try to push to get that done next, but I think these
These are the more important, right?
Yeah, I
more
know
of a
these
priority
are
right
more
now.
important, but could you, understanding you're gonna run a new water main up Circuit Ave South, could you use the old water main for the drainage?
That's what I mean, we're gonna do away with the connection.
Okay,
From
I
there.
understand.
Priscilla, I'm sorry, yeah, it's Priscilla.
Yeah,
We ran a water main and it terminates at the top of that hill in the guy's driveway right there. And there's another line that we found while we were trying to figure out how all these water mains were interconnected down in that area. We spent about 3 months going back and forth, shutting valves off and whatnot. But there's a line that was put in by a contractor back in the early 90s, I think it was. And the town went as far as the driveway, and there was another main there. All we had to do was go another like 50 or 75 feet, and we could have tied in. And that would have been tied into, which we believe would be Circuit Ave West.
west, okay, yeah, right, the one, yeah, that's correct.
So with that connection, we could do away with,
Yeah,
we'll be
loop.
looped from Priscilla, and we can do away with the water main in Circuit Ave South, and use that for the drain.
Correct, that's a good, yeah, down the road. Yeah,
That's, Charlie was talking about
that
that.
would work, yeah.
Where were they connected?
It
Yeah.
runs, right now,
Down the strip.
it runs on an angle, and it looks like it's right down to Rexham
Where would
Road.
my point is,
The
where's
garbage
the discharge?
sure.
It ties into the Wrexham Road drainage.
Okay. You'd have to open up Rexon Road and put it into a storm drain.
Right, we could probably, there is a storm drain on that side. We could tie it into that, through that storm drain. We could just go and tie it in. It's just, so it would
So
only
you're
be
taking
single
a water
connection.
main, you move it into a storm drain.
Right,
You're
well,
converting it.
we cap it and then we, or
Right,
elbow it
okay.
and we get it into, figure out, we'd terminate it with a manhole. And then had to tie into either a catch basin or the drain that we just put in and serve.
Okay.
We'll figure that out. We'll think about that right now while we're,
It's a good solution. For
Yeah.
For a really serious problem.
yeah. That main is like 7 or 8 feet deep right there. And we had the ground penetrating radar because I think what happened was the gas company came in, and where that main was tied in from Priscilla, the one I said was tied in, they built a bunch of houses up in that area, the contractor. So he brought an 8-inch water main, ductile iron main, in and tied into Circuit Ave West, tapping sleeve. But the box seems to be missing, because when we went to look, there is a box there, but that's from the old valve. The box is right over where the gas is, so we're gonna have to dig underneath. I think the gas company came in, knocked the box off, and we don't have access to shut that water off. We've been going crazy trying to shut things down on that corner, it's ridiculous. So we think that's what happened. And we're gonna have to dig a test pit, but it's gonna be a big test pit. And we were kind of diverted when we were dealing with all the stuff over in off of Surf Ave. So that's something that we will do, but right now we want to get Surf Ave going, get the bypass in, and
Okay,
we'll see.
Right.
anything else on Rod? No?
Okay.
Tommy, anything else for Rod?
I don't see anything, no.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We're set.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good job, have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, next discussion is the STM articles, funds for purchase sandbags for residents, especially in floodplain areas.
Okay, I requested this to be brought.
I know you did.
This came about as a question from a resident, actually Veronica Sweetcakes. And, like I said,
Miss Ryan.
Huh?
Mrs.
yeah,
Ryan.
right. But anyway, the bottom line being that, we weren't doing it, and I checked with emergency management, they didn't do it. But Granger, I went online, 100 count for white sandbags going 27-inch by 18-inch, 50-pound capacity, $84 for the 100. So it's short money. Of course, Situate was on the media when the storm was coming in, the fact they were preparing sandbags for people in front of the waterfront. It seems to me that, this is something we should do. It is providing material at town cost to private residents, so I would think that you probably need some kind of formal vetting, whether it's town council saying it's an emergency situation, you can do it, or whether we want to put it as an article and buy a certain volume. I mean, you could, at that price, you can easily go out and buy yourself a couple thousand bags, not spend a lot of money, and have them available, not filling them with sand, but have them available for people to take to get the sand for themselves.
Right, I think it's a good idea. My only concern right now is lack of space.
Right.
We are in a very tight, space-wise, up at the 965 Plain Street. And once the construction starts for the next year and a half, it's going to be very tight. And after this last snowstorm, it's very, very difficult to move around in the parking lots. And that would be my only negative about it. I think it's a good idea to make them available. And it's funny, last week before the storm, I got a call from the town administrator asking me if we had given out bags. And it was right after that Situate on TV.
No surprise.
And I mean, I think right now, because of the congestion at 965, it would be very detrimental to the operation.
Well, I was thinking about something in a situation where we go to a vendor, make the purchase, have the vendor hold them for us until we ask for them for delivery in the case of a storm or emergency. That way we don't have to deal with the storage, we're just handing them out when
Where
they
would they
arrive.
get the sand?
Huh?
Where?
Where would you get the sand? To be quite frankly, when I was loading my sand salt bucket down at the garage the other day, there was a guy filling his sandbags.
Well, we leave
down
a
by the
pile.
old,
35.
the police station.
35 state, yeah, the old park.
So you can
Same
put
place
that-
we have it in Vogels.
We
You can put
leave
the bags at the police station, at the new,
police station.
yeah. Put the bags at the police station, have them go down and fill it.
Well, the fabric building.
I mean, that police
put it
station
inside
is
there.
big enough to put the whole
So-
town in.
Well, we put out in between a couple of Jersey barriers, we put out a pile
Right.
of mixed
Mixed sand,
sand with salt.
Yeah.
The salt shed is all salt
Yep.
in there. So, I mean, we're trying to keep people out of the back.
Right, understand.
So that you know, if we kept a pile up front and allowed them to take it from up front, we could, it would be their responsibility to fill them.
Yep.
But,
So I have a question, I have a comment. This is an emergency management issue, per se?
You could categorize it that way.
All
I
right, it's not
think.
DPW, it's just more of emergency management. Is there space by emergency management that they could actually make a separate sand pile and bags available for people?
I'm sure you could.
I mean, it wouldn't be
require-
us, it would be DPW, it wouldn't be emergency management. Emergency management would get the charge and they would pass it on to us.
No, I understand that, but do they have space
The storage.
where the emergency management people are?
They may have a lot of space in that new building out back they're building, it's bigger than our office building.
But my understanding is the whole upstairs building of the new police station is unoccupied when it starts. So they should have plenty of storage space up there.
That's what I said.
See,
It goes in the circle, it comes back.
the other question I have is, what do other towns do? Do they actually, the towns fill the bags for people?
Situate does, they have a setup where they have a mechanism that fits on the bucket of their loader.
Yep.
And then another loader comes and dumps the sand onto it.
Right.
And it fills the bags.
So if we got to that point, I mean, you know, I would think that it would be down in the Brant Rock area, in the Green Harbor area, that maybe we work with emergency management and town harbor master and put a pile of sand down maybe in the wintertime, down by the pier, and that we would have, when there's a storm coming and they need to do that, we would have a certain day with, working with emergency management to actually fill bags. I mean, I think it's not a direct DPW responsibility, it's really emergency management. That would be we could cooperate with it, you know, to do that, but I would think that, you know, because you don't want to be carrying sandbags all the way from one part of town, all the way down to the other, when it's really down in the Brant Rock area, it's down in the Green Harbor area, and maybe work with the emergency management people and the harbor master to designate an area that's not parking boats. So, you know, have a sand pile and a mechanism to do that so they're not traveling in their cars with sandbags across town. That's all I'm thinking.
I noticed driving down Bay Avenue, people have sandbags all along their driveways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I noticed that every time I drive down there, there's more of them up.
So we have a parking lot for beach parking down at the end of Bay Avenue.
There's
Correct.
parking at the end of Bay Ave, there's parking at the post office on Beach Street.
Beach. There's parking in Brant Rock Center.
There's parking at,
So we could, you know, we could designate, work with emergency management people and the police as a cooperative effort to establish a thing. So it's on up at 965 Plain Street.
Right.
That's my point.
right.
It's where it's going to be used. I don't see people in the hills getting sandbags.
No, it's more for them down here,
Right.
on this end.
That's true.
So-
I don't think the hills would use it, no. They don't flood.
Depends on how far down you are in Prospect.
I understand. I know the town.
I know you do.
You can put the dredge coils in the bags.
So I think that Dave, you want to put an article,
Well, it was there for discussion as to, I'm not sure we need an article per se for the cost we're talking about. It's small money, you know, to come out of, you know, some of the discretionary expense funds we have. We always used to have, and I think it's still there, it used to be 25,000 or less capital.
Gone.
Huh? They took that away, yeah, okay. So anyway, bottom line, I guess, would be, you know, it needs discussion. When does the STM open, do you remember?
It closes Thursday,
This Thursday, okay.
yes.
So we, you know, I think we put a placeholder in, and if it proves not unnecessary, we just pass it over. That's easy.
Yep.
we
Sure.
should have a discussion with the police
I mean,
department.
it's under $25,000, it's
Usually
not a lot of money, it's, you know, it's something that we could do.
Yeah.
But we could get a vote from the town to either, you know, what to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy 1,000 bags for around $850.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's not just that, but the thing is, it's more of a program
right. Once it's in
than a
place.
cost.
Yeah, well, I mean, and ultimately, once we start this, the Situate, the setup he was talking about for Situate, we would ultimately, people would ultimately be coming to us to say, can you do like Situate does?
Right, oh, exactly, definitely.
So I think it's, I think it's something to put forward.
Yep.
Get it there.
Okay, let's go over the town meeting articles.
Next in line.
Yes, the town meeting articles. Number one is the acceptance of our Chapter 90 money, which is an annual housekeeping. Emergency repairs of private ways. Again, this article is for the 100 private roads in town for grading and patch and making the road accessible to public safety vehicles. Number three is a grave buyback. It's an annual, at the annual town meeting this year. There's about $10,980 going back, and it adds some more graves into our inventory. Article 4 is the solid waste budget. Article 5 is the wastewater budget. And Article 6 is the water budget. Those are our annual warrant articles for the annual town meeting. And we're looking at 5 articles for the special town meeting. $50,000 for wastewater for emergency repairs of generators. Number 2 is the water main work that Rod had discussed at a bond of $2.35 million.
Okay, that, we don't have any copy of that, right?
I haven't even drafted them up yet. We'll be doing that in the next couple of days.
I'll stop looking.
Yeah, though, there's nothing in your packet, I'm sorry.
So, the question I have on the 2.35 million, all right, what kind of contingency do you have in that built in?
Rod said he put a 5%. I thought that's what he
Yeah,
said.
So with material going up, should it just make it even 2.5 million?
Well, the 2.35 is actually 300 over, because we were gonna use
Okay,
the
fine,
300
fine.
from Spring Street. And we also have the 100 emergency line, so we have those options.
Not bad.
Number 3 was complete streets, $50,000 as seed money that will be reimbursed for. So, and then the next 4 would be the Brand Rock safety improvements for the final design and permitting. And then 5 would be quarterly billing with the Munis going to the Munis software. We're looking to go to the water and sewer to quarterly billing. And this will give us, I haven't got the price yet from our consultant, but this will give us time to prepare and get the blocks and everything in place to go to the quarterly billing.
Okay,
And we have 2 more, Tom. We have to do the 5-year contract.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, and we have, 6 would be the Republic.
Based on the discussion tonight.
Right, yeah, at the next meeting, once I have town council review everything, and then at the next meeting, I'd ask, or maybe not the next meeting, but the following meeting.
Yep.
We would ask, after it's reviewed by council, to take a vote so that we can proceed to make it the...
that's the Republic contract?
That's the Republic special because it takes effect July 1st. We would like to have it voted on because it's 3 years, well, we're looking at perhaps 3 years, and then maybe 1 or 2 year extensions after that, and that will require a town meeting vote.
Because of the extensions?
Because it's longer than 3 years.
Okay.
And what's
one of them is the solid waste supplemental budget for the disposal and.
All right, and then
transportation,
this,
collection, disposal.
the collection and disposal costs, this,
Those budgets were shorted because the previous treasurer collector was so efficient. He always had his budgets created before we got our increases from the vendor. So the amount that was allotted in the budget wasn't enough to cover these costs, so we need to supplement.
in going back a couple of years, we've always been trying to play catch-up, and then, but this year, once we make this article, then we should be caught up.
Hopefully, our next budget, they've taken our advice and increased the line amounts.
Okay, I gotta add one thing here. So, the town agreed to compensate the ratepayers for the snow plowing during regular hours, right?
Yes.
So that's a verbal agreement.
Yes.
Yes.
It's verbal. So anyhow, at one of our previous meetings, we talked about a citizen's petition. So I'll read this, I already put it in for the annual, a citizen's petition under my name. So this will be the, and I'll give you a copy. The enterprise snow and ice labor funding. So it's just to put it in writing. It's always good to have it in writing. Will the town vote to approve the process of funding enterprise-provided labor during snow and ice events, such as road plowing, sanding, and/or pre-storm treatment that takes place during normal business hours directly from the town's annual snow and ice budget? To explain that, the town agreed to do that verbally. We're just going to make this, as any good attorney like Mr. Galvin would say, put it in writing. Correct?
I don't disagree with that at all.
I think I'll ask him at town meeting, what should we do?
You got a big side.
But they just put it, I think they just put it out there and get a vote. I agreed that I would support it, John.
Yeah, yeah, that's all, because we talked about this, and this was
Yeah, so.
the exact one that we were gonna put in,
Oh, my
Sure.
the three of us.
So I agreed that we would support you on the previous meeting, I support you again on this meeting.
Likewise.
And the town supported all of us
Yeah.
by caving in.
Yeah, well, my understanding is the new accountant
Here.
basically
Take
discovered
care of
that
this
other
one.
towns were doing it
So
exactly
we should do it as a board?
Yeah, of course.
No,
Are you
we
gonna do
can't-
it as an individual?
It's too late to do it as a board,
It's too late.
Yeah,
Okay.
the citizen petition can still go in.
Okay,
because
fine.
they agreed that, we were correct in asking for that compensation, and the new collector treasurer agreed. But that could change down the road, things change.
From another collective treasurer.
Yeah,
okay.
different,
Right.
boards change, collector treasurers
No,
change.
it
as
it
we
is the
know.
right, it is correct, right, and it's.
So it's it's the exact language
Right,
we
exactly, yes.
talked about and voted on.
And basically, what you're asking right now is that at town meeting, as a board, we would endorse that
Correct.
citizen's petition.
Right,
And I concur with that.
thank you. And you do too.
And I do.
Thank you. Okay. That saved quite a bit of it.
Okay.
How much money did that save?
Not much.
On the vote to accept the minutes this time?
$6,000.
We're all set with the town meeting articles, Tom? That's it?
That was it for articles.
All right.
Should be more.
Vote to accept the minutes of 1/10/22.
We passed it
We're
on.
going to pass over this. Dave Kelly has an item that he wants to add to it, which I agree to.
I made a statement to Gary Russell, sitting right there, to the effect that, yes, my words were, the Board of Health has plenary authority in matters of health. However, as the water commissioners, we have authority over how we handle and treat things within Zone 1. And I made that statement.
I didn't hear it.
Should have been on the tape, Anne Marie, because he was sitting right there.
When Gary was speaking, Dave, it was very difficult to hear him. He was mumbling. I hardly picked up, I just picked up the last sentence I put in the meeting, that he said he would honor what DEP said. Other than that, I didn't hear, it was mumbling.
Well, I was speaking, and
So
I
wish
made
you-
the statement.
So you know what? I
Right.
wish you had spoken to me today. I would have talk to you about, I would have entered.
Well, I did
this
just,
in.
I mean, I got the minutes a little on the late side, they had some other stuff going on.
I sent them in the morning.
So what we'll do,
I know.
is we'll take it up at the next meeting and you can add with the sentences where you want to put it
I
there.
didn't,
Okay.
I'm sorry?
That's all right.
I did not hear what him saying.
That's
No,
okay.
He didn't respond to me per se.
Okay.
I made the
I
statement.
couldn't hear you either saying that. It was
Okay.
very mumbly, both of you, when you were talking. So I put in.
I'm usually not accused of that.
I did
Now,
the
wait
best
a
I
minute.
could with it.
Time out, buddy.
Okay. Superintendent's report,
Yes.
965 Plain Street.
Okay, 965 Plain Street, our equipment is still outside, plugged in. We're hoping on March 1st to see some work being started on site with the contractor. We do have a meeting scheduled for Monday, the 14th, with the contractor to go over the schedule, the construction schedule. We're still waiting on a lot of information from the building itself. The metal building has been audited. The down payment or the deposit was placed with the contract. The contractor placed it with the manufacturer. So we're on schedule, we're in the queue now for the building. Monday I'll have a better idea on the March 1st groundbreaking date, but we've got our fingers crossed. It's going to be very tight, trying to move equipment around with construction equipment and our employees' parking facilities. It's a very tight spot. You know, I've been telling the powers to be, the police, the fire, the town administrator, every meeting that we have at EOC preparing for a storm. I have talked to them, the school superintendent, and I've told them, since they forced us out of Parsonage Street to get out, you know, so the police could move forward with their building, we've had to park our equipment outside. I have 11 spreaders that sand roofs, all right? 2 of them fit in the garage, loaded. The rest are all outside, all right? They're out in the cold. My sidewalk tractors, out in the cold, buried in the snow. The same people that drive our sidewalk tractors are in trucks plowing. We just had a historical snowfall last week, all right? And, you know, I saw some beautiful pictures on the TV of different DPWs prepping for the storm. They had the chains on their tires, they had their trucks full, they had their plows on. The one benefit they had over us was all those trucks were inside warm. Ours were outside. I'm also down 4 employees, all right, that town won't let me fill the positions. I had 3 trucks sitting during the storm with no drivers because I'm shorthanded, all right? So, you know, and I can also go back 10 years and show how many times we've asked for equipment to try to help us do these things, to fix, to maintain broken equipment, and it falls on deaf ears. I can remember one year, we couldn't even use our enterprise fund money for capital projects because the capital planning chairman told me it wasn't fair that DPW could spend money when no one else could.
Retained
Well,
earnings.
shame on them.
I remember that.
Retained earnings
Yeah.
is how we operate. And they're handcuffing us from operating, all right? And you know, if I could have those 4 positions, and 2 of them are truck drivers, all right? I can't put people behind the wheel without a license.
So Dave, do you have a license?
I'd like to add something to what Tom said. Part of our problems right now is we had a plan for Plain Street and temporary facilities, some of which would have been undercover and with heat. And you know, between the planning board and the conservation commission, that got blown away. It was discussed about all of it being done like in June of 2019, and it got all blown down the drain in August. And that's when we ended up, everything outdoors and down at Plain Street, including the fact that the fabric buildings and the rest like that, nobody had moved on those from either the owner's project manager or Weston and Sampson. That was all being handled between Tom and Sean. And what got done was only because of them. And, I mean, Tom, in his good offices, was able to actually eliminate 2 trailers and a toilet setup because of his connection to West Bridgewater, was it?
East Bridgewater.
East Bridgewater. But anyway, the bottom line is, you know, the efforts we put forth usually have been heroic when needed. And secondly, they have been constrained by the resources we're not allowed to have.
Right, and you know, it was a historical snowfall.
It was
It was
that.
a blizzard.
And our equipment was outside, our men and women
We're outside.
are outside. It's eating their lunch in a vehicle, all right, because we have no space. You know, and I'm sorry, were mistakes made? Yes. And we addressed those mistakes. We had a meeting and we addressed those mistakes, okay? We now know that I've been telling them for 18 months that we've been fortunate because of last year was a mild winter. I said, we've been lucky. Well, guess what? Our luck ran out 2 weeks ago. And being outside showed what happens when vehicles are outside and have to respond to emergencies. It takes time, they break down, they freeze. You know, as cold as it was, and when a load freezes on the back of a truck, it doesn't defrost in 15 minutes. It takes hours, and it has to be inside to defrost.
Yeah.
And I have 11 of those trucks.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing at midnight on Tuesday, the 10-wheeler sitting there trying to defrost in one of the bays.
Yeah?
With all the heat they could throw at it. And I think it wasn't until the next morning if you go on the road.
And you know, and after a while, you've got to shovel that out by hand.
Right.
You know, if it's frozen and it's not going to spin and you have a full load on, you've got to shovel that out.
Right. You can't
In
dump
order to get that to work.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully people will listen and understand, you know, that we're doing the best we can under the circumstances we're dealing with. And, you know, trying to start a diesel truck sitting out in 5-degree weather.
Yep.
It's not easy. And until those people understand what's involved here and what's happening because we're outside, maybe they'll have a little bit more compassion, understanding why we don't get to it as quick as they want us to.
So, so was that the update of the 965 Plain Street, or was that the
Well,
storm update included?
That's a little bit of everything right there.
That's
So the
why I
other
asked.
issue is that I know the superintendent of school was sending emails about the sidewalks
Right.
and about some of the equipment that was frozen and wasn't able to do it. And you're saying that we don't have the right equipment. Are we putting the right equipment back in the capital budget to
I
to
have,
make an issue out of it?
well, you know, I've stopped putting stuff in the capital that they keep denying on me. It's just a waste of time. I put a book together. They don't even open the book. And it's so obvious by the questions that they ask when you go to a meeting, that if they just opened it once, it's all self-explanatory.
So dust the book up and put it back out?
I used to give one to every single member. They never even opened them. I gave them pictures. You know, the equipment has been upgraded, the trucks and stuff over the last few years, but they're still outside.
Right.
I mean, our equipment has been upgraded. Yeah, the argument that's outside is a valid argument because it's very difficult. And this storm was preceded by record cold.
Right.
which is the result of what froze up all of the sand and salt. And I know when I went to the area down by 35 Parsonage to get a bucket of this stuff, you had to hammer it through to get it loose enough to put in a bucket. And that's the same thing that happened inside those trucks. But the other point that Tom has made is that we need additional equipment. And for example, I think you need a smaller V-plow that can manage, like, a perfect example is Forest to Furnace, Furnace Street, from Forest down to South Main. You've got a whole bunch of telephone poles that sit in the middle of the sidewalk. You either need a small self-propelled, driving type snow blower to clear that, or you need a small V-plow to get around it. Yeah.
Right, even some of the
And they won't-
small equipment won't get by
Right.
some of those poles.
Yeah, no, because you have no place to go. I mean,
Right.
it requires ultimately manual clearing,
Right.
because when you get to those poles, you create a hurdle.
If you saw the windrows that were on Plain Street.
I did.
From Forest going west,
Yes.
they were 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
My snow blower will not go
No,
through
you
that.
can't shoot through that. I mean,
And a
basically,
V-plow won't go through it because it's too small.
It pushes it right back in the street.
Right.
yeah, you gotta go in with something that can bucket it and toss it. Yeah. That's the
I mean,
bottom.
there are smaller machines.
Yeah,
The AVS machines, they're a small Bobcat.
yeah.
They're small enough to get on the sidewalks, but not all the sidewalks, like you said, because of some of those poles.
Well, you had that same situation on Careswell Street going east from Governor Winslow School.
Right.
The poles are in the sidewalk,
Right.
and they impede the operation, and that is an area that's, if you're using a Bobcat, it's more difficult because you're liable to chew up somebody's lawn, and that means we're gonna have a private property issue floating up.
I mean, those sidewalk tractors that we have, the trackless, they're
Yeah.
made to go on a 5-foot sidewalk without any impeding, poles or signs or anything impeding their way. And, but you still have to come down off the curb and go back up
Yep.
when you go around these things. And, if in a perfect world and all the sidewalks were built the same way and the telephone poles were out on the curb and you could have a complete 5-foot pass, that would be great. But we have so many different size sidewalks in this town, from one end to the other, they vary.
Yep.
So I'd be, if they're willing to give me equipment, I'll take whatever they want to give
Well, I
me.
mean,
If it's for the safety of the children,
Yeah.
to get sidewalks plowed, then, maybe the school could offer some of their money up to purchase some equipment so that we can maintain the sidewalks. But I don't see that happening.
it makes two of us.
Makes three of us.
But,
I'm not
and
saying
so,
that, but I understand
Yeah.
this.
No, no,
we
We're
were
getting
fortunate, the seawalls down in Brant Rock, we were fortunate that there was really relatively no damage from the storm, and they're right back to work. They were right back to work on Monday last week.
Yeah.
So they're working there. As Rod said, Thursday, the bid opening for the Surf Ave water main and drainage. We're meeting with advisory on Wednesday. There's a meeting tomorrow afternoon on some funding sources with the planning. And then at 1:30, we're meeting with the consultant and some reps from Brant Rock to discuss the next steps in that preliminary design. Thursday, I'm meeting with the chamber and the town administrator Thursday morning. They would like to discuss capacity for sewer and water. I've asked for a little bit more detail, but I haven't got any. But I'll have Rod and Paul with me on that.
Who's going, the chamber and,
The chamber and the town administrator.
Where? At Brant Rock?
No, this is Thursday morning. They asked to meet with me to discuss our water and sewer capacities.
yeah, we're getting tight.
Right, so, yeah, and Rod, so I've got Paul and Rod and Clint, we're all gonna get together with them on Thursday.
Thursday?
So this is what we talked about at the board meeting a few months back,
Yes.
after the planning board started getting all those articles passed for high density.
Right.
And we had a discussion on, we need to update the master plan.
Right.
We need to update that methodology too, and we're only getting 5% for our equipment. If we had no snow, it's 20 grand a year. That's nothing, that's a grain of sand on the beach for what
That will
it
have
does
to
to
be
us.
next year.
Yeah,
It will be next fall, well,
well, and when we start discussing this in
Right.
July,
July, right.
yeah, we gotta get up to 10, 12, 15%. If we have the information on the maintenance of the snow
Sure.
equipment, all of it,
Yeah.
the sand is the whole bit.
Okay,
Also, if I can, I just have one last thing on my, and that's equipment maintenance. We had a discussion when we moved up to 965 Plank Street in regards to being able to take care of the equipment. We didn't have enough space. So the town administrator and at the time the town treasurer collector and Dan and myself sat down and told them that we didn't have the space in order to take care of all that equipment. So their decision was to go out to bid on a contract for the light vehicles with fire and police. And it was only fire and police that was discussed. The administration and the DPW has always been maintained by DPW equipment maintenance. There's been an issue that came up that the building commissioner's truck went to the contractor that maintains the police and fire. He went there for a four-wheel drive issue. I don't know who sent them there. We've been taking care of his truck all along. We did the brakes, we did everything else in it, so why, I don't understand why it went to Luchetti's and then they send us the bill. And I was going back and forth with the town administrator, and he doesn't agree that that was the agreement that we had. So he's asked that the two of us get together and sit down and have a conversation.
You want me to come?
No, I can take care of this, but the agreement
I could
was
too.
that they would go out to bid for 6 months until we get situated at 965 Plain Street, and we are anticipating on taking back the light vehicles in March, and he agrees with that, except for now, fire department has decided they are going to have their mechanic take care of all their light equipment. And they're gonna cut our budget. And, they're gonna take 20 pieces of equipment, the fire department. That still leaves us with 158 pieces of equipment to maintain. So our budget, which is $68,000 usually shot every year, wasn't increased to cover this. It was actually cut $60,000 so that the fire department can.
so we got 68,000, you're gonna cut us $60,000 for 20 pieces of equipment?
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me.
So you're gonna get $8,000 to cover,
Well, no, what I said was $68,000 over, we went over our budget every year, $68,000 in equipment maintenance. And they never adjusted it. We just kept going over that 68 every year. All right? So now, fire is gonna take their 20 pieces of equipment, and they're gonna cut our budget $60,000
for 20 pieces of equipment?
for 20 pieces of equipment. We still have 158 to maintain.
Quick question. The 20 pieces, I mean, mentally I'm looking at, they've got a service truck. They have all of the, basically the commander's vehicles, which are typically the shift commander, the chief,
All the engines, the ambulances.
They're treating the
forestry
engine
trucks.
pumpers and the forest trucks as light equipment as opposed to, basically, what is the heavy equipment? Just the.
The heavy equipment is the engines, the ladder truck.
Okay,
The ambulances go along with that.
Yeah.
And they were gonna take all that anyways in-house.
yeah,
And we were gonna continue doing the light vehicles.
Right.
Now they've decided they're gonna do all of their light vehicles also.
are they gonna add staff to handle that?
They say they have a mechanic over there, I don't know if that's in-house, but they're proposing to cut a position from us,
Okay, that,
along with the budget.
that makes, I mean, that makes zero sense in that we still have the bulk of the vehicles. They, they don't have a lift there. I mean, they don't have the setup. What are they gonna be, running up on ramps?
Well, the big stuff all goes out.
Yeah, but I mean, the light equipment, if you're gonna be changing oil or servicing brakes and stuff like that, it's on a lift, it's a hell of a lot easier and better and safer. And we've got the lifts, they don't. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know where that's coming from. Is that brainchild of the new chief, or is that something flowing from administration?
Well, I'm gonna say that where the chief came from, they maintain their own equipment.
Okay, so that was his history. Okay, that explains that. But I mean, it's, to me, that is something we need to contest, because, we have the facilities. We're gonna have a brand-new facility that can accommodate almost all of it. And to do this shift and then shift back doesn't make any sense. The other thing would be any contract, to me, that is going out, Lucetti or whoever it might be, the assignment of maintenance should flow through equipment maintenance. We should get first bite at the apple. If we can't handle it, fine, we'll reach out to Lucetti under the contract and do it. I mean, I presume this contract was cut in the appropriate fashion with the town named as self-assured, an additional insured and all that stuff?
This contract went out through the town administrator and the treasurer collector.
Okay, so, I mean,
We had no involvement.
I understand that, I mean, but it had, we don't even know if it went for town council review, presumably it would, because the value of it would have exceeded the
Yeah, we weren't
the cap.
involved in it at all. We told them that until we could get up and running, we had just moved in there.
Yeah,
It was gonna be a 6-month contract for the small equipment.
We were short 2 employees.
Uh-huh.
We were short.
And we were down 2 mechanics
Right,
too,
and-
at the time.
we also should mention the fact that we were also the only party to step up and create some place where the voters could go. And that delayed us getting to where we needed to be there.
Right? No, so, I mean, I don't know, from the start of this, it seems to me like they were setting us up for failure. That's my own opinion.
That's difficult.
I won't dispute that.
That's
I'll
difficult.
agree with that. I mean, superintendent of schools and his emails are setting us up, basically.
And another thing on the schools, I was with 15 of my peers last Thursday, and every single one of them was in the same boat as us. Sandwich and Wareham lost their communities and had to have people come in to assist them. All right? It's, you do the best you can. Plymouth was still plowing sidewalks on Thursday.
And,
All right, we were done.
Yep.
And granted, we had to bring in another contractor
Yeah.
to help us, all right? But they were done. A lot of these communities didn't even do their sidewalks.
and the bottom line is, all of them had gear indoors.
All of their equipment was indoors. Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm satisfied.
anything else, Tom?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for
Well
putting
said.
up with this.
I'd like to go to
I
executive
won't say what
session
I mean,
to discuss
because of this.
the solid waste contract, and then we will return to a regular session after we have a discussion on the solid waste contract, and we will join after coming back into public session. So please pull the board for the purpose of discussing the solid waste contract.
Okay, executive session to discuss contractual items. This is Chairman Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Carrier,
Yes,
Clerk Cusick,
Yes.
unanimous.
We're in.
Okay, you got it?
I have to have
So we're going,
council.
I misspoke. We're going into executive session, not to return into public session. And we're going to adjourn this meeting of February 7th. So I have a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
No, we can't
not
do
to-
that, you can't do that yet.
John is here.
You can't vote to adjourn and then go into executive session.
No,
No, we're going to adjourn from public session, not to return to public session after we go into executive session.
Our vote is, we are going to adjourn, we are going to adjourn to executive session, but not to return to public session.
Right, not to
Not to
return.
return to public session. Okay,
Great,
it's a little clumsy, but we got it done.
thanks.